Good morning and welcome to In the Loop Weekend Ag Talk, brought to you by Alphen Insurance Agency. We hope this is the best quick video you watch on all things crop insurance and agriculture. We also hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We hope you had time to visit with family and friends, kick back and relax a little before jumping back in the fields to finish the soybean harvest. Let's jump into the markets and see what things were doing this week prior to Thanksgiving. As expected, most markets were down this week prior to the Thanksgiving holiday. December corn down just a tad at 657 as of Wednesday afternoon. December wheat 786 Wednesday afternoon. December cotton down a couple pennies this week at 82.40, and November soybeans Wednesday afternoon were at 14.33. When we look at North Carolina ag highlights, most of the corn is in the bins. Cotton harvest is at 88% complete and soybean harvest at 75% complete. Our winter wheat is 80% planted, about 61% emerged, and most of it in fair to good condition. When we look in U.S. news as it relates to ag highlights, corn pretty much there is in the bin as well at 96% complete. U.S. cotton harvest 79% complete. Most of the peanuts are out of the field at 94% complete. This week we did not get a report on soybean harvest, but assuming everyone is making good time just as well as we are here in the Carolinas. Winter wheat 87% emerged, most of it in fair to good condition. When we look in the news, we'll start with ethanol. After 6 straight weeks of increasing U.S. ethanol production, output fell last week below 300 million gallons. Weekly gasoline usage also pulled back 3% on the week. U.S. ag export sales were relatively strong for corn and soybeans. Soybean sales especially strong, and the second largest volume on record. When we look over in Ukraine, the UN Ukraine and Russia Grain Corridor Agreement was extended for another 120 days starting November 18th without any changes to the current agreement. When we look at the railroad strike, seems like the unions are still rejecting an agreement, hoping that something can be done before December 8th with the looming strike. Everyone's hoping the White House will step in and help resolve this issue. Some of the U.S. export sales help is coming on the heels of a weakening U.S. dollar index, which traded at its lowest level since August last week. This lowering U.S. dollar value could actually help slow down some of this inflation, and maybe the Fed will not have to keep increasing interest rates quite as high when they make adjustments. Now to my favorite time of In the Loop Weekend Ag Talk. This week we look back in time and we're going to visit Sampson and Duplin counties and discuss the old produce markets. I became intrigued with the produce markets when visiting with Mr. Doug Wilson one day earlier this spring. Mr. Wilson showed me the picture shown on the bottom left of the screen here of the old Clinton market. It was located across the road from Smithfield Packing Plant that many of us still call Lundy's. If you're standing in front of this picture, you can see the long lines of trucks heading out of town back towards Turkey, waiting to sell their goods. There's even one horse and wagon in the picture. We're guessing this picture was taken in the late 1940s. The Clinton market thrived through the 1950s. In 1945, as you'll see the picture on the right there, the Faison Fruit and Vegetable Exchange was formed. The downtown produce market moved down from the railroad tracks outside of town on 403, just right across from Cottle Strawberries. The Faison market was in its heyday from the 1960s through the late 1980s. Like the Clinton market, farmers of all sizes could bring their goods to town, get a fair price for them via the auction system. You could see big trucks loaded with crates of pepper, long green cucumbers, and squash, and the list goes on and on. Right behind the big trucks, you might see a small station wagon carrying 8 crates of squash that were grown in a big family garden, then picked and packed by the children of the family. The buyers would bid on produce no matter how it arrived. Produce was sold, relocated to local warehouses in the area to hold it until it was shipped to its final destination, and the buyers were quickly paying the growers who brought stuff to the markets to sell. If you look at the picture in the center here, it really intrigued me. The day I was meeting with Mr. Wilson, I asked him why these markets ended up being located in Clinton and Faison. Was it our climate? Was it our soils? Or was it a mixture of that? He agreed that it was those things, but he also told me, he said, son, 50% of the U.S. population is within 500 miles of where we're standing. If you look at the map, that shows you we can get out to Cleveland all the way down to Orlando on a truck by next day service, feeding 50% of the U.S. population. Legend has it that long before the end of the Faison market, one of the large farmers in the area received a snow cone education one day while watching the auction. It was hot and he decided to get a snow cone and cool off while taking in the sights and sounds of the auction. This farmer noticed that all the buyers had on nice watches, gold chains, Italian leather shoes, and the finest clothes one could afford. Meanwhile, the local farmers were dressed in rags, struggling to survive. That day, he said, if we don't find a way to sell direct to the grocery stores, these cats will put us all out of business. He calls this a snow cone education. Looking back, the farmer's right. The growers who remain in the area are large and have contracts with grocery and mass merchant stores, and there are very few small growers left. We want to say thank you to all of our produce growers who are still in the game helping feed the world. Just like the tobacco business, the produce business in our area has really changed. Most of the old buildings are gone and the memories only remain on paper or in the minds of a few of our old timers. I hope you've enjoyed this look back in time. If you're a produce grower, give us a call. Let's talk whole farm revenue protection. It gives you an option other than NAPA insurance to cover your operation. Now I have something for you to consider before we say goodbye for the week. And don't forget, please buy U.S. grown fruit and vegetables and help support our local farmers. This week in our Something to Consider, we want you to look at budgets for 2023 again. A couple weeks back, we talked about the importance of interest as you figure your budgets for this year, particularly interest on your operating note and how that's going to affect your cost of production. We also looked at holding grain versus selling grain at harvest and what that carrying cost would be and how interest would impact that part of your budgets for the year. Something we want you to think about when doing a stress test on your budgets. Well, what if corn went to $5 or soybeans back to the $8 range? That is not predicted, folks, but it's something to think about when looking at your insurance needs for the year and your budgets for the year. Also, what if you had a 20% reduction in yield from some crazy thing such as a weather trend or something like that? We don't know that this is going to happen. We don't know that it's going to be predicted, but we want to make sure you know your numbers so you're protected for the year ahead. We want to thank you for tuning in again to In the Loop Weekend Ag Talk, brought to you by Alphen Insurance Agency. We hope you have a great weekend, and we want to send a special thank you to those who help feed and clothe the world. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook and tell your friends about us. Also, send us a message with your email so we can keep you up to date on all things crop insurance and agriculture. And remember, make mental health a priority at your home and at your farming operation. Make time for yourself. We all need a little time to kick back and get our brains straight. Also, make time for those that are around you and work with you. Somebody may have something they need to talk to you about, and they may need somebody to listen, and they may need some help. Don't forget, give us a call. We'll come to you so you can focus on family and farming. Have a great weekend, and thanks for tuning in.